Hello. It is such a privilege to be invited to speak here at this international conference to share a few thoughts on ways that we have been promoting wellness through humanities-informed medical school curricula and community engagement. I'm Jen Hartmark-Hill, a family medicine physician in Phoenix, Arizona. I completed my medical school training at the University of Arizona, Tucson, and residency training at Mayo Clinic, Arizona. I currently serve as the director of the Narrative Medicine and Health Humanities program at the University of Arizona College of Medicine, Phoenix. I very much like to acknowledge Dr. David Beta, Chair of the Department of Bioethics and Medical Humanism, for giving my program a departmental home. I would also like to thank our medical school's deans, Dr. Guy Reed, and Senior Associate Dean of Academic Affairs, Dr. Steve Lieberman, for their strong support of humanities and humanistic approaches to medical education, and also to Dr. Fazenfeld, my co-director, for her vision, encouragement, and expertise. I have no financial ties to industry or other conflicts of interest to disclose. During our time together, our learning objectives are listed here. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to engage you in a reflection on why the approaches and resources we'll be talking about today matter. You will be able to pause the recording as you meaningfully reflect on each of the questions. Let's start with your why for valuing humanistic health and caring for those around you. Take a moment to ask yourself, who is my community? If you're in academic medicine, this may be students, resident physicians, colleagues, team members, and so on. Also ask yourself, who is your larger community? What challenges do your communities face during this time? What are the stories you're hearing? Are you asking people around you for their stories? What are your guiding values? What are the opportunities to make a difference, to be the change you wish to see in your world? Finally, by the end of this talk, I hope you will be inspired to action and you'll have a more defined vision of what you will commit to do. Thank you for going through this reflection with me. I imagine that your stories are very unique and yet have some shared elements with stories from around the world. Thank you too for the opportunity to share a few of the stories of my community. To provide some background, where I work at the University of Arizona College of Medicine, Phoenix, we are a relatively young medical school here, having gone through an accreditation process to be our own separate medical college over the past decade. And also, we are steeped in the rich tradition of the University of Arizona College of Medicine, founded in Tucson over half a century ago. In 2014, several humanities events and publications here were formalized within the Narrative Medicine and Health Humanities program. That occurred within the newly formed Department of Bioethics and Medical Humanism. This department is chaired by the world-renowned bioethicist and pediatric intensivist physician, Dr. David Beta. In my role as director of the Narrative Medicine and Health Humanities program, it has been an incredible privilege to build educational offerings for our learners and to establish strong and vibrant partnerships with our larger community of writers, artists, and patient advocates from many backgrounds. Our events have connected medical students and interdisciplinary health professionals with members of our surrounding community through a growing number of events, such as our poetry and spoken word event, held at a coffee shop just up the street from the medical school. We've also built film and medicine screenings, writing workshops, a story project podcast, and many more opportunities for connection, reflection, and meaning making around shared values of health and wellness. Speaking of community engagement and partnerships, we've held events such as this one, where we rented out a nearby community art center for one of our film and medicine events and shared the film Rent, followed by a panel discussion of physicians and patient advocates from groups around the city. Our focus to destigmatize chronic illness like HIV/AIDS and enhance awareness and education around treatment and prevention. In this one humanities-based event, we brought together patients, politicians and policymakers, educators, and students who will be the next generation of care providers. Another example event, here are some photos on the left, one of a recent annual Arts and Humanities Journal publication, and on the right, our gallery and celebration event. Members of our community submit essays, poetry, paintings, photography, motion media, and many more genres. Our editorial board reviews, selects, and publishes annually. As you can see, these events clearly occurred in person before the pandemic. That was then, and this is now. Or as I seem to say very often in regard to so many of the plans we had and the projects we were building, and then COVID-19 happened. Our campus was completely shut down in March of 2020. Only recently have very limited educational uses been reinstated. So, what does a program that has a mission to bring people together through narrative and humanities do when the spaces we share, both on campus and off, become off limits? So we went back to our why. We asked ourselves all these questions again, and in a time that required rising to new and unexplored challenges, we expanded our discussion around who could be our team members and partners in this new reality. Despite many limitations, what resources could we still access, and maybe even for the first time? What resources could we leverage to achieve our goals, and where did we need to move out of comfort zones in order to be effective? In terms of the challenges our community was facing, this part of our story is no doubt very similar to yours. Our communities experienced isolation, our learners and colleagues were distanced from one another, and our new students started their intensive and challenging medical school training without even being able to meet in person. We've watched COVID numbers rise and mourned losses of patients and our close connections to one another. While there was much we could not do, one thing we could do very rapidly was mobilize existing platforms utilized by our program to share resources for support and connection. To our existing website, we connected a wide variety of helpful materials and links and communicated these to our communities. For each of the following actions we took, I will share some of the resources we used with you. Each one is available for free, and it may be helpful to you to expand your repertoire of tools as you think about ways you might continue to promote humanism and wellness. So as one example, to create and add to our web pages, we use the free version of squarespace.com. As it is a very clean looking and user-friendly site. There are a number of other free web page creating sites out there, including wix.com and wordpress.com, which we also use. Available sites may vary by country, but I encourage you to look into your options if this is not something that's already set up for you, as it will definitely increase your opportunity to share resources and connect with your community during this time. If you'd like to see the full version of our website, you can visit us at www.narrativemedicinephx.com. One of the humanities approaches we took was encouraging students, colleagues, and community members to process their experiences through writing. One very approachable and time-efficient yet powerful way to do this is through the writing of 55-word stories. A prompt for this is posted to our narrativemedphx.com website, and I've also turned it into a more easily accessible resource and shared it through this link with you. If you type into your web browser tinyurl.com/55-word stories prompt, you can access the full prompt, background information, and also places where 55-word stories can be published. You can share this resource with your community by email and/or even create a virtual writing workshop for participation and sharing of the written stories. Quick word about tinyurl. This is a free site that is worth saving to your bookmarked files. You can shorten and customize much longer web addresses here. I use this tool quite frequently when I want to make it easier for people to access links, and there's no easy way to provide a clickable hyperlink, such as in this presentation. Other platforms that require no web page development that you can leverage to share resources for resilience include places like linkedin.com. This website is generally meant to be a professional profile and networking platform, but you can also author essays on any topic you like in order to spread influence. Indeed, many thought leaders use LinkedIn for this purpose. Once you post your piece, you then have the option to disseminate it further through social media channels like Twitter and Facebook. And of course, Facebook pages can also be created to post resources and connect with community in lieu of a standalone website. Another website expansion that we created in response to the pandemic was to create a space for people to tell their stories of what living through this time was like for them. We had an existing Stories in Medicine blog. We added a section called Our Stories in the Time of COVID-19. This website uses wix.com, and when we put together announcement flyers and calls for submission, we use the free version of canva.com, which has really beautiful templates for event announcements. The feedback from this project we received was really heartening and amazing. People shared how much it helped to be able to get these thoughts out in writing, to take time to process. People even shared their stories with me when they didn't want them published. They were just really hungry to share and connect in order to make sense of what was happening. And of course, the stories are ongoing. as the number of people being directly affected by COVID is once again spiking around the world. COVID fatigue continues, and opportunities to promote meaning are everywhere. I really, really encourage you, if you're not already doing something like this, to find a way to create a space for stories to be told. This helps people process and make sense as much as possible of what they are going through emotionally, and it also helps all of us know that we are not alone. Then in April and May, we sent out flyers and emails encouraging people to read books from the National Library of Medicine's curated collection of titles on mental health. We then held 2 virtual book club events through June. Our medical students who participated received academic credit for a summer course and were able to connect with members of our broader community at both of the medical campuses and across the state. You can access the full collection of resources around mental health from the National Library of Medicine website with a shortcut via tinyurl.com/NLM mental health. You can also see the mental health resources our librarians put together in collaboration with our events at the second website, tinyurl.com/mental health library guide. Also in May, as we all remember, with the killing of George Floyd, the pandemic within the pandemic came to a boiling point as repeated police brutality and ongoing public health harms of systemic racism were brought again and again to light. Our communities were really suffering. So the medical students and I launched a new project, Stories for Social Justice. We didn't want this time to be like so many other times in our history, where after protests and media coverage, the dialogues die down and things return to the status quo. We wanted to continue the conversations into the foreseeable future and make sure that all voices in our community continued to be heard. In July, we launched a series of writing workshops in collaboration with Dr. Stephanie Troutman-Robbins from the Department of English and the College of Humanities Africana Studies in Tucson. We brought together people from all walks of life in our Writing Without Borders series. We explored themes of community health, advocacy, identity, and purpose. You can access the really superb slides and writing exercises created by Dr. Troutman-Robbins from the workshop by typing into your browser tinyurl.com/writingwithoutborders1 and so on. In August, we hosted another writing workshop, this time on world building, led by Rayhana Haynes Venerable. We did this to help people explore what they wanted for the future and what their place in creating that future could be. We explored themes of identity, advocacy, hope, and resilience. In this time where we had been so restricted for the past 5 months on what we could not do, it was incredibly refreshing and uplifting to imagine what we could. You can access the storyboarded layout for the workshop at tinyurl.com/worldbuildingworkshop. Now, up until this point, I've been sharing resources specific to the events and outreaches we created. Now I will share 2 absolutely magnificent and comprehensive resources. And by that I mean databases that you can search and find a wide variety of excellent resources for practically any wellness and humanism event you create. For this, I recommend starting with the resources put together by the Greater Good Science Center, located at greatergood.berkeley.edu. I cannot recommend this resource highly enough. Perhaps you will find many good options here to build into your own self-care and wellness practice as well. In terms of humanities-informed approaches and resources, a must-have resource booked on your web browser is NYU's LitMed database of peer-reviewed arts and humanities. I've included a quick access link here, tinyurl.com/NYU LitMed. A few more thoughts before we wrap up, and this time my encouragement for all those of you who do this type of work, to create a regular practice of self-care. As you create opportunities for others to connect and refill their cups, find ways that you can accept help and fill your own cup too. For me, this has taken the form of signing up for wellness events run by other people and just soaking up being a participant. I'm grateful for writing and reflection opportunities created by colleagues outside of my program and institution. I'm grateful to the Gold Humanism Honor Society for providing a series of writing and arts galleries. I was able to participate in the Restoring Joy in Medicine Haiku Gallery and do some really valuable self-reflection on my journey and motivation to do the work I'm doing during these challenging times. I'm grateful to the AAMC for sponsoring a good listening project so that members could schedule time with a poet to listen to them. This poet then wrote a reflective poem to share afterward. I was able to do this, and the experience renewed my reflection on what a gift it is for one human being to provide attentive, altruistic, and generous listening to another. There needs be no written follow-up. Generous listening is something we can all choose to do for those around us every day. Here's a writing group outside of my own institution that I've been attending, and you can join too. Dr. Breitman at Stanford University has developed an international following of participants from across health-related specialties and disciplines. It has been a gift to hear the stories and writings of people from all over the world during her Saturday morning virtual writing groups. You can go to laurelbreitman.com/writing medicine to sign up and have the Zoom link sent to you. You are also most welcome to email me if you would like to be added to our listserv of upcoming events. I hope to connect with you more through other events in this conference as well. As promised, before we conclude, we are going to be doing some goal setting. Feel welcome to pause the recording in order to reflect and write about each of these components. First question, and we come back to our why and the relationships and connections in our work and community. What are your community's ongoing needs? What opportunities do you have to promote wellness? All right, time to get focused and create a top priority goal. Before you make it a SMART goal, take a moment to answer the question, why is this particular goal important to you? This should be your energizing force, the fire in your belly that will keep you motivated to complete the goal when obstacles visit your path. Okay, now that you have all this, you are ready to make your goal SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timelined. Pause here again and write down the specifics. You will increase your odds of success if you do this. I have greatly enjoyed spending this time with you. Thank you for the opportunity to reflect on how we have connected with our communities over this past year. Please feel welcome to reach out with any questions or to share your thoughts and stories. I wish you all of the best. Thank you.